while I'm on the Dan is Wrong tour, let me also admit that Joe Biden has a much better approval rating than Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris is the heir apparent. Exactly. Thanks for playing. Thanks for playing, sister. But you're gone. Pete Buttigieg is a favorite. I think Gretchen Whitmer is eyeing for that prize. Gavin Newsom wants some smoke. Gavin Newsom, for no reason. Yeah. Gavin Newsom, the California governor who was going to run in a landslide regardless, running ads in Florida because he can against Ron DeSantis, the current Florida Republican presidential hopeful heir apparent, is now out here running ads against Ron DeSantis. No, Gavin Newsom's feeling his crotch as well too, right? All of these people are all of these Democratic men, honestly, other than Gretchen Whitmer, Pete Buttigieg included, feel the blood in the water. They are gunning for Joe Biden if he doesn't feel strong. And Joe Biden's saying, "Fuck yeah, I got the smoke. I have defeated all of you and you didn't expect me to, and I'm going to keep doing it literally until I flatline." And for this week, I'll give Joe Biden the pass.
I'd like to see Beto run, actually.
That.
Really?
Yeah. Yo, cool. That.
You already tried it.
You're off your mind, Bam. You have to you have the floor to justify that, but you're out of your fucking mind. And to get more into what my thoughts about what I think the next couple years are going to be, look, Joe Biden is fucking feeling himself. In fact, I'm going to use my little play button privileges and play a little bit of a Joe Biden early preemptive announcement about his intention to run for president, actually.
Okay, Big Brandon, let's see it.
Of running when I announce... If I know, my intention is that I run again, but I'm a great respecter of fate, and this is ultimately a family decision. I think everybody wants me to run, but we're going to have discussions about it, and I don't feel any hurry one way or another to make that judgment. Today, tomorrow, or whenever, no matter what my predecessor does.
Or early next year, or what's your?
Does that mean a year or early next year? Reporters
my
asking.
guess is, I hope Jill and I get a little time to actually sneak away for a week around between Christmas and Thanksgiving.
I don't like that tone, Joseph.
Next year we make that judgment.
Whoa. What do you mean sneak away, Joseph?
My plan to do it now.
All right.
My judgment of.
I also love how Joe Biden recently has been holding a microphone while being in front of microphones while doing all of his conferences. He's like, "Nah, Jack, give me the microphone. I want to hold the fuzzy top right by my topic. I don't care if you have the other ones. Just have them right there. It's gonna be great." I love how old lady played. Dare I read? Old lady plays like he's gonna get frisky.
My man's about to have a good time. Okay, dog.
Yeah. I don't even want to think about. I don't even want to think about.
Connor's got to swag up a little bit.
No. But honestly, Joe Biden. If Joe in the magical world where Joe Biden is watching Power Report the same way Donald Trump watches Fox and Friends, Joe Biden should be big dicking right now because everyone counted him out in the 2020 Democratic primary, in the general election, and right now. Inflation is bad. The Republicans have been using every single fear-mongering tactic against him. But, the fundamentals are there, right? He has polled better than most presidents do going into midterms. He is losing fewer seats as far as his party is losing fewer seats in that same position as he is with the incumbent president during his first midterm election than any president has in the past 20 years. Even though he's this old fogey, even though he stumbles through sentences, even though he is sad and progressives hate him very logically, even though he, is at least fighting for student debt relief from this $20,000 amount here, $10,000 amount if you down the Pell Grant. But I think Biden should feel listen, for the first time in my political career, it took me however many times to run for president. I'm winning. I can't stop winning. I'm almost getting tired of winning, okay? And I am going to keep rolling while my luck is good. And I understand that on a fundamental basis level, but as other people are saying in chat, I think Letterhack is asking, will he run again or give it to someone else? Unfortunately, Last of Dinosaurs says Dark Brandon fucks. The question is, like, will Joe Biden give it to someone else? Okay, I hate to say it, but while I'm on the if only Sean was here, because Sean loves this, while I'm on the Dan is Wrong tour, let me also admit that Joe Biden has a much better approval rating than Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris is the heir apparent. Exactly. Thanks for playing. Thanks for playing, sister. But you're gone. Pete Buttigieg is a favorite. I think Gretchen Whitmer is eyeing for that prize. Gavin Newsom wants some smoke. Gavin Newsom, for no reason. Yeah. Gavin Newsom, the California governor who was going to win in a landslide regardless, running ads in Florida because he can against Ron DeSantis, the current Florida Republican presidential hopeful heir apparent, is now out here running ads against Ron DeSantis. No, Gavin Newsom's feeling his crotch as well too, right? All of these people are all of these Democratic men, honestly, other than Gretchen Whitmer, Pete Buttigieg included, feel the blood in the water. They are gunning for Joe Biden if he doesn't feel strong. And Joe Biden's saying, fuck yeah, I got the smoke. I have defeated all of you, and you didn't expect me to, and I'm going to keep doing it literally until I flatline. And for this week, I'll give Joe Biden the pass.
I'd like to see Beto run, actually.
Beto?
Fuck that!
Really?
Yeah. Yo, cool. Fuck that!
I already tried it.
You're off your mind, Bam. You have to you have the floor to justify that, but you're out of your fucking mind.
I like him better than everybody else you just said.
I don't want you talking. I agree. Boy, Gavin Newsom and that beautiful smile. Don't do that, please.
No. Actually, no. I disagree. Listen, I hate everyone I mentioned, but I like winners.
I was gonna say, who do you like, Dan?
Out of everyone I mentioned, I talked the most about. I've talked shit the most on Gavin Newsom. But Gavin Newsom could win against Trump or DeSantis. Because listen, Gavin Newsom would be like, Florida, who the fuck are you? California alone, fuck America. California alone is bigger than Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. He would smoke him.
No contest.
You don't want the hands, dog.
Gavin Newsom would fuck Beto's wife, on God.
He'd be a good VP pick. I could see Beto's a VP. That'd be cool.
Okay, the only reason I'll say something else ridiculous, please. I think I heard you say something about somebody's wife.
Yes, Gavin Newsom would fuck Beto's wife the same way Gavin Newsom fucked his best friend's wife, who was his campaign manager when he ran for mayor in San Francisco. This is why you shouldn't trust him on basics. This is why you shouldn't trust him. Never mind that he gives fracking permits out during COVID, even though he claims to be a pro climate politician. Never mind the whole French Laundry scandal. This is a person who shouldn't be trusted. But in a country that likes greasy, white, coiffed up politicians, Gavin Newsom's got the sauce.
Man, Gavin, please.
I think Yasmin thought the show was a lot more serious than you saying that, Dan.
No,
but okay, this is the one thing I'll say with Beto against Gavin Newsom. He was on a national platform. When he was running for president, people in the nation got to see him, He wasn't there for that long, but Gavin Newsom has just been the governor of California. Beto O'Rourke was he was out there running for president. People know his name a bit more, probably.
Yeah,
more than Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom's the governor now a repeat governor, probably the most popular state in the nation. He has controversy. I don't know, man. I think Gavin's person. I think he's more, but you know.
I mean, even I live in Texas, and I still would say that Gavin Newsom, I think, has more like national clout than Beto does. And I like Beto as much as anyone can. I think, you know, and I wanted him to win something, and he never did. And he did run for president, and it was kind of a disastrous run. It was kind of embarrassing, his run.
Beto has a place.
I don't think that it was the right time for him to be dipping his foot into that. I think he should have taken a breath at the time. It was not the right time. But Beto is good. I don't know if like the country as a whole would be ready for somebody like him yet. I think that he appeals to a lot of younger people, a lot of progressives, a lot of Democrats. He appeals to a very specific demographic. But the problem with Beto, and we've seen it here in Texas, is that people on the other side of the aisle, they don't know what he can do for them. And the thing is, he can do a lot for them, right? And whenever he talks to those people, he flips a lot of people, right? Like a lot of his social content during this governor race was about him just talking to Trump supporters, people who voted for Trump, people who voted for Greg Abbott in the past, finally actually just like engaging them in conversation. And then he was able to flip them just from presenting his ideas to them, right? But unfortunately, I think a lot of those conversions happen on that one-on-one kind of level. And in the state of Texas alone, he couldn't do it, right? And he's got to do that across the whole country, you know?
But Gavin Newsom is governing California. Like he's never talking to Republicans or like people like that are from Texas and stuff like that. Beto has had to deal with these people, you know?
Yeah, but even like Gavin Newsom, though, like he's won his elections, right?
And bam,
right? And
Donald Trump is
cheap shot, but a lot of people hold that against Beto. Like they really do. They think they see him and they see him as a loser, right?
Oh,
he does mean a lot.
It is very sad. I don't agree with that, you know, but that's how people refer to him, you know? I've seen Democrats and progressives here in Texas, and they're like, you know what? Just give it a rest, Beto. You know, like you tried 3 times, and these are Democrats, like people who probably voted for him. Yeah, so like
no, Democrats will come after you first, man. It be your own. It be your own.
Yeah.
Sure. And bam, to your point.
But I do stand by what I said earlier. I think Beto would be great in like some kind of cabinet position because I believe that he wants to do good somewhere. I think he needs to find his place wherever that is, and I hope he does find it because I think he does have a lot to offer, and I think he is somebody who would want to do something good for people. And God knows we need something like that in government, you know.
I think at this point Beto would be great as an MSNBC like contributor, as a commentator, because at this point this is where usually all the losers get relegated to, who like they've gone a number of times in politics. They can't do anything else.
Dog?
Listen. First of all, nosotros somos Beto. Yo soy Beto. Tú es Beto. Nosotros Betos. No. I appreciate. I agree with, on principle. I agree with what y'all are saying, that people who fit a certain perspective, like if you have a voice for Texas, you can appeal to voters in Texas, then go ahead, totally do that. But I have to bring this back to like the larger conversation of what we're looking at, like the outlook for 2023, and even like the intermediary conversation of who might be the heir apparents if Biden falls apart or ultimately decides he doesn't want to run. Like Bam was saying, Gavin Newsom only appeals to Democrats. He only has to run among Democrats. Now that's true. And
I don't know. I think Gavin Newsom's hot enough that, you know, white women who typically vote, and I'm kind of being serious. I think he's hot enough that he would flip people.
Yasmin, you're applying the Kimberly Guilfoyle test, I think. I see you're doing exactly that.
I think he could flip people, and because Caesar said it. He has a beautiful smile, you know.
Gavin Newsom.
There we go.
Hold on. Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump Jr. are penis cousins. That's a direct statement.
My God. Okay.
Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Okay.
You know?
Kimberly Guilfoyle was Gavin Newsom's ex and then started dating Donald Trump Jr. But that's neither here nor there. My point is that Donald Trump Jr.
I think that's unfair to hold against Gavin Newsom. Poor guy. He got out, didn't he? He got out. Nobody wants to talk about their past.
Gavin Newsom is
exes.
Gavin Newsom is
super embarrassing. So
Gavin Newsom
I'm gonna sympathize with him there.
Gavin Newsom is Governor Quagmire, if you're asking my opinion about it. And I don't hold that against him. I just think it's funny. And I think it also holds to his political allegiances and the way he does politics. But the point I'm trying to get at is that, bam, you can be repulsive. Donald Trump was repulsive as fuck to every Democrat. And it worked to the, like, against him ultimately, right? Ultimately, people were so ignited against Donald Trump that Joe Biden is allowed to do his plug walk out before he flies to Europe right now, all right? Like, people actually voted for Joe Biden against all odds because they hated Donald Trump so much. Gavin Newsom, you know, love him, hate him. I agree with what Yasmin is saying, you know, a little bit on the hot scheme, but like more on like the larger point that he is the kind of figure who can realistically like ignite people on the left, on the right. And you know what? Igniting people on the right is good. Let's challenge them. Let's like get them into the like side. Like, I mean, obviously not igniting them to vote isn't good, but I think if you can ignite them to the point where you can pull them to your side, where Gavin Newsom might be able to do with a couple of conservative white women here, a couple of, you know, misogynist men over there, I think that's a stronger candidate than Pete Buttigieg, who just sounds like liberal consultant word salad.
Do people think that Pete Buttigieg is like a viable presidential candidate still?
Yes.
Ooh,
really?
Yes.
I feel like we don't even talk about him anymore.
There is an entire class of liberal college educated people, and you know, some of them I like and some of them I respect. Yasmin, you know one of these people. I'm not going to out them on air here, but
Okay.
they are out there and they respect Pete Buttigieg because he speaks a language that they like and they understand. All right, and
It's called copying Obama.
It's called consultant speak. It's called
Yeah.
it's the way Mark Zuckerberg does press interviews. It's a way that any working class person goes, oh, fuck yeah. Like it just sounds immediately disingenuous and just like greasy to the average person in a way where like at least a half pretentious is his exact word. And Pete Buttigieg doesn't know how to get out of that. I will never forget. And I love every time I tell a person of color this story, they immediately switch off of Pete Buttigieg. And this was like my Dan Warpath during the 2020 midterms was Pete Buttigieg was lying about his black support from the jump because he is like the whitest white bread person. He was in South Bend, Indiana, where there are all those police brutality cases. And he went as far out to cover for this by doing the Frederick Douglass plan for racial justice in America. It was this like whole 5-point plan bullshit thing that was going down. And it was co-signed by a bunch of black intellectuals and professors and people who were prominent in the space in the left who said, you know what, this plan, we've read it, we've looked at it, and we think that Mayor Pete Buttigieg has really taken black people's plight seriously and really taken their opinions seriously and developed this plan with a lot of foresight and thinking and told it and gave it to us, and we looked it over and said it was very good, except all of that is bullshit. Pete Buttigieg made up the idea of even consulting any of these black people and straight copied people's names. Like copied motherfuckers' names onto this like plan saying, oh, look at all these black people who endorsed my motherfucking Frederick Douglass plan for Black America, and you copied people's names. That's why for like 6 months I made my Twitter handle Mayor Pete has no black friends, and I didn't fucking stop until either A, Mayor Pete Buttigieg was relegated to being like a fucking shift manager at a Walmart in South Bend, Indiana, or B, what ultimately happened, which is when I was happy, was that the fucking Guardian and like 2 other news publications actually ran with the article, Mayor Pete has a black people problem. Does Mayor Pete have any black friends? They were saying my shit verbatim because I wanted to install this into the skulls of the journalistic intellectocracy here, that Mayor Pete Buttigieg is a fucking fraud. I think people of color understand this pretty fucking clearly, but for a number of white people who I really appreciate in my lives, they fucking don't see it because he speaks their language. And that's, again, white people are the fucking voters in this country. So, sorry for the 7-minute diatribe there, but that is why I think Pete Buttigieg has a lot more juice than I think people think.
Let me go back to another white person.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm still going to ride with Beto over Gavin Newsom because also, Caesar, when you're talking about where Gavin Newsom comes from, I think like the right-wing people in America have this stigma of California being like crime-ridden and terrible. You have this like some prominent people moving out of California because of the crime or the taxes and stuff. So I think you can get a lot of right-wing and Republican people to be like, oh, this is like this hell. I mean, obviously they're wrong, but like this hellscape California, that's all his fault. Whereas Beto's coming from Texas, like the people on the right are not going to be like, yeah, he messed up Texas. Like,
yeah,
I think
he's the anti-Texas, right? If Greg Abbott is Texas and he's the one who made Texas what it is, Beto is the opposite. Beto is going to take their guns, right? Texas didn't make him a senator because he was going to take our guns, you know?
I think in Texas you'll get a lot of that, but like outside of Texas, there's like the people that don't know what's going on as much, like they at the very least they can't use that trope against him. So that's another one for Beto over Gavin Newsom.
So his lack of a track record could work for him.
Yeah, I'm by myself with this one, and I'm fine with it. And
yeah, you are. You are by yourself.
I want to be on your side. For what it's worth, I want to be with you on this one. And maybe this is like a grass is greener on the other side thing, where I'm like for the Cali guy and you're for the Texas guy, you know. But
I don't have a problem with Gavin Newsom. I don't have a problem with him, but I just think, like in my mind, I feel like Beto would be easier to get elected than Gavin Newsom. I kind of think so, just because he's been on a national.
Bam, honestly, give me some of that, please. Please, Doc.
Bam's on that copium.
I feel like, see, somebody agreed with me. Your friend Sam says agreed, Bam. Adam Rich said I disagree.
Wait.
Thank you, Adam.
Remind me so that I am like in a clear state. What is the claim you're making here?
I think that Beto will work because he ran for president. He was on a national platform. He is more electable than Gavin Newsom. If we're talking 2024, people like he has more recognition.
I think
and he has less baggage.
I think Gavin Newsom, because he's won shit and run shit, has a better chance at winning the nomination. Like, listen, I have a hilariously terrible track record when it comes to guessing Democratic presidential candidates. I mean, honestly, I hated the 2020 Democratic primary, so I bet Jank $100. I bet Jank $100 on John Hickenlooper just because I wanted to feel something.
Who the hell is that?
He was the former
from Colorado. That guy.
Yeah, the senator from Colorado. Yeah. Who ran for president. Like, I literally wanted, like, I was betting on the limping horse in the race because I wanted to feel alive. Okay, like that's how I was feeling in the 2020 election. So please don't take my November 10th, 2022 positions on the 2023 primaries with that much promise. All right, but I strongly disagree with you here, Bam. I love it. I love the lively disagreement here, but I think you have a track record of governors having a much easier path to the presidency, or at least people who have been like elected safely into office and have done things, as opposed to, you know, like Beto O'Rourke. Love him, but maybe Michael Steele's position on MSNBC, that one pundit who ran out of politics, so he just appears on there for talk show shit.
I think like arguments in the chat saying, or even us here, when we're saying like, oh, Beto, like he hasn't won something, I'm gonna keep it real. If we switch sides, I don't think Gavin's really pulling out a dub in Texas if he's running the same policies that Beto was in Texas.
Totally not.
I don't think that's a fair argument, but I'm still, I'm team Gavin Newsom, $1 Million Smile. I'm team $1 Million Smile. I think he would do way better.
You think more people in Maine know the name Gavin Newsom or Beto O'Rourke?
I think they know Gavin Newsom.
I think they know Gavin Newsom. People know Gavin Newsom. Yeah,
Really?
his name is as prominent
let me go
as
check
like
some social
Ron
media.
DeSantis or Greg Abbott. I think there are a few governors that people know, and the big states. You know Texas, Florida, California.
So Bam, honestly, I hear where you're coming from most in this angle out of anything you've just said. Beto has a lot of name recognition from all these elections he's run. A lot of people may not be familiar with Gavin Newsom as the governor of California, all right? I don't think that means shit. Because, ultimately...
Beto's kind of popping on Twitter. I'm going to shut up. I don't know.
Who is?
Beto's kind of popping on Twitter. Whoa.
Uh-oh.
He has 500,000 more followers than Gavin.
And as we know, Twitter is a very Twitter is a very clear prognosticator for what actually happens in politics and what actually happens in election results.
I mean, we got a
Bad Lefty agrees with me.
He did. He got a lot of really good press coverage during his Senate campaign and then during this governor race. So he does, yeah. I mean, it is a fair argument, right? And it's like I said, I don't hate Beto, right? And I don't want anything. It's like that movie. What was it? That movie with Leslie Mann and Cameron Diaz and Kate Upton and like the other woman or something. Yeah, the other woman, right? And they're trying to come up with a plan on how to take this man down. And they look at Kate Upton. They're like, we're going to find out what you're good at. I feel like with Beto, it's like, we need to find where to put you. We need to find where you'd be good. And if that's a presidency, then so be it. And if it's not, then we need to find a place for him because I think he's a good guy and he should be somewhere in public service. And he clearly wants to serve the public. He really wants it,
I'm not trying to send them off to cable TV like Dan is over here. Dan's over here trying to destroy this man's career. I know that's
no. That's better than I want. What happens
at 3 p.m. on MSNBC? I'm not saying all that, but I think that
the Martin Bashir segment is clutch. All right, the Ed Schultz segment is clutch. I'm not saying what happens to Pete Buttigieg, which is literally a shift manager at a Walmart somewhere in Arkansas. I just want Pete Buttigieg away from power totally. Beto O'Rourke can bench warm for Chris Matthews during his yearly specials. But yeah, ultimately, yes, name recognition is one thing, but you know what? There was a lot of gas around Stacey Abrams in 2020, in 2018 and in 2020. And I don't think that's the fairest comparison. I'm not going to give any smoke to Stacey Abrams here. I don't think that's fair. But all I'm trying to say here, all of the antics aside, Bam, is that even though you have a lot of gas on you in the media and in the press and on Twitter, doesn't mean that when the tires hit the pavement, doesn't mean that actually matters once you get into an actual election cycle. I think that this is totally speculative and either anything can happen, anything between now and then. But I'm
gonna say one last thing about this.
Then I'll read some chats and then I want to go into Trump.
One last thing. I'm gonna give it within 2 weeks. I think Yasmin will be on my side in 2 weeks.
Chat's already agreed with you. The chat was kind of overwhelmed. A lot of them were talking about Beto because of you. I don't know. You did do a good case, but I'm still team Gavin. It's a beautiful smile.
Why? What's gonna happen in 2 weeks?
Within 2 weeks, I think
you're gonna switch scenes. You're gonna be like, I was thinking about it.
You know what?
I mean, I could switch. It's fine. I would be happy with Beto. I want to believe in Beto. Maybe I'm just taking it personally because I've been burned by him so many times before. Every time he runs for something, it's I really want to believe that you can pull this off, but then you're disappointed. 3 times it's happened, and I'm saying that lightly, but it is kind of devastating when it happens, it is kind of hard. It was really hard to see Ted Cruz come so close to losing and then still win. And it was so hard to see Beto run for president and not have the best showing. I think he could have done a lot better during his first presidential race, his first campaign. And then again, to see him lose to somebody like Greg Abbott, especially after everything that Greg Abbott didn't do for the people of Texas, and then everything that Beto actually did do for the people of Texas. Every time our leaders let us down in Texas, Beto kind of stepped up, even though he doesn't have any office. He doesn't hold office, but he still went out of his way, used his own resources, whatever he did, to actually help the people, right? During the polar vortex, our senator fled the country. Beto actually stepped in. It was him and AOC. They did a lot for us here in Texas, right? Uvalde, I don't even need to get into that. Greg Abbott did nothing. He made it worse, right? He actively made it worse. And then he said it could have been worse, right? Beto was the one who was on the ground, and he was the one who was there, who was helping the people, the community. So, I mean, I really do want
There's
good
nothing. Gavin Newsom has never done anything like that. Never.
Yeah.
He's just sitting there in Sacramento. There's nothing has happened in California where it's like Gavin Newsom is like rushing to be there. Ever. So those type of things.
I'm gonna need you to calm down right now.
No. Bam. Let's jump in here because I am
those type of things that you're talking about with Beto are going to be the things that can propel him more. And Gavin Newsom has none. But maybe Caesar knows something we don't know. Let's hear it.
Bad Lefty says that Yaz is dropping knowledge, and I'm gonna get to chats in a really short moment. And I do want to finish this, but I do love this conversation so much. So, like, I think Yasmin made some incredible points there, honestly. So, like, Bam, I agree with you affirming Yasmin. I agree with a lot of chat affirming Yasmin there. That he's done some legitimate things. Caesar, your thoughts, please, because I was about to say some things that maybe you might say.
Uh-oh.
No, Dan. Tonight, Dan, you're on tilt. I don't know what Dan's over here bringing up.
Actually, no. I straight up wanted to hear what you were gonna say, Cease, because you were saying, hold on.
All I know is that these are fantastic points, and you have still not contested who has a better smile, who has slicker hair, and who's much more handsome. That's my boy Gavin.
Oh my God! Don't hate on.
I think no.
No. For TV,
I want to get serious.
State of the Union. Come on, I want to smile.
I want to get serious. I think Governor Cease. I think Gavin got a lot of shit for the French Laundry thing, and I don't think that was a good look. Basically, Boris Johnson got run out of England for essentially the same thing, among other scandals. But and in my opinion, no other bigger scandals than any other politician has. So it's just a different game plan over there. But all things considered, I'm glad I live in California as a state for COVID compared to many of the other states in America that existed. And I think the fact that in addition to the checks that were being sent out by the federal government, that California's been hitting the direct deposit every couple months here and there has not been that bad. I think there have been things Gavin Newsom has been doing that have been smart for Californians. Then if he can evangelize that and also just show on paper, listen, California alone beats Germany when it comes to biggest economic things. I think there's some of those measures that Gavin could, if he's politically savvy enough, point to, that someone like Beto O'Rourke, who is a really good person, who is a really great activist, and activists other than MSNBC do really have their place in politics. But those are things that those are things that Beto O'Rourke will simply not be able to brag about because he hasn't held office. And last thing on my last thing on this, and then I'll leave one other comment to anyone who else wants to have it. Then I'll go to chats, and then I want to go to Trump's response because that's awesome. We've been teasing it for the past 2 hours. But my last thing on this is that Gavin Newsom, and I hate to say this, but Gavin Newsom is a little bit smarter and a little bit savvier than the rest of the Democratic Party. And that's really important to have in a politician because the same could be said about Barack Obama and the same could be said about Bernie Sanders. It ultimately didn't work for Bernie Sanders because the Democratic Party ultimately hated him. But Joe Biden, I'm a little bit on the fence about too. But you need someone at the helm of the Democratic Party who is willing to, maybe in a softer way than Bernie Sanders ultimately did, because maybe arguably Bernie Sanders went on the gas a little bit too much in a way that I personally agree with more on principle, but in a way that obviously doesn't work inside the Democratic Party. I think Gavin Newsom, also more than Beto O'Rourke, can ride that edge of saying, in his sort of gravelly voice, hey, listen, pal, you think you may know how to run this candidacy, but I know how to run California, and I know how to beat MAGA Republicans who are coming after my ass, constantly impeach me. I've actually had to defend my seat and win constantly. So I think I know how to do against this.
Black radio guy. That guy didn't count.
He did get clapped, and he clapped the recent one too. He did kind of win by big margin.
Larry Elder, who?
This is the last thing I'm going to say about this.
Please.
I think I'm going to change it. I think I'm going to make it 1 week instead of 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
This guy.
Okay,
This
I
fucking
will
guy.
say this is the last thing I'll say. Is it's a job, right? The presidency is a job. It's a specific role, and there's demands of that specific role. Maybe one person is better to fill those specific roles than another person. And that's not to say that the other person is not as good as the other, but maybe they're just better suited somewhere else, somewhere that's also influential, also important, also, but requires maybe a different skill set, right? A different personality type. So that's just a consideration. I'm not going to say who belongs where, but maybe that's a consideration. And it's not to downgrade either of them necessarily. It's just saying you're good at this and you're good at this and that's great. And together maybe we can like make something good out of this country, do something good for people. So that's it.
Yasmin, you're getting the last word. Other than chat, which I'm going to read through right now and try to get through as much as I can through
You won't
this.
be able
and
to.
then
Scroll up.
No.
Scroll
Scroll up. No. I love that and I appreciate you all, but I'll read through some of the best because I have been keeping track of some of the best in my head, and then we're gonna go. Old Lady Play, who I really appreciate, who has been on for a while and was on through election coverage and has been on through a lot of these as we've been growing. So thank you very much. And thank you for watching on the stream. So have a good night. Says, I'm leaving soon, so I think I'll drop this here before I go. Bernie would have been a better candidate if his analysis wasn't so focused on class, the exclusion of all other characteristics. I know we could all respond to this one, so let's just leave it be. But I would say that's a very smart comment overall. Other comments about Larry Elder, who I think, like, bam, that was a phenomenal point. Don James says, Larry Elder had no chance against Newsom, LOL. Absolutely. Bad Lefty says 6 days tops on convincing Yasmin of this thing, which I'm not going to keep track of, but I think it's awesome. But yeah, there's so many good comments on here. Adam Rish, I see you.
The
There's
chat
just like,
turned real hard.
The chat was supporting me.
The
Someone- I
chat
did get
became
some
pro
support.
Beto really fast.
Old Lady Play, before you go, I don't know if you're seeing this, but Gary Chambers should run for president. I think Gary Chambers is another Beto O'Rourke style candidate, where like you do really good virally. I really appreciate what you're doing. I'm glad that he ran the kind of campaign he did, where he was unapologetically who he was. You're gonna get run through like one-ply toilet paper, shot through with a 50 caliber bullet if you try to run through office. Like, it is gonna be so, you're gonna get run so hard because you're just not ready for the national level yet. But like, again, I interviewed Jessica Cisneros, who has run 2 times against Henry Cuellar and came within, I want to say, a couple thousand, if not a couple hundred of the vote.
Frustratingly close. Yeah.
Yeah. There are a number of candidates who you run 1 ground game, you run 2 ground games, you get a little bit closer, and you ultimately get where you're supposed to be. I think Beto on that local level within Texas would be a strong candidate. I would love him in the House. I would love him leading a caucus of some kind. I would love him at the commissary at 30 Rock Plaza and MSNBC's headquarters in New York City. But Again, I think that these people have their place if the numbers are there. I think, honestly, if I remember the numbers correctly, Gary Chambers got rocked. Like, it wasn't even that close. So
that was going to be a tough one. That was a tough mountain to climb.
And listen, I don't hold that against Gary Chambers.
They didn't even legalize slavery. I mean, make slavery legal there. It's like,
I don't hold that against Gary. I don't hold breaks. I don't hold Gary Chambers. I don't hold that against Gary Chambers at all. But I do think that, you know, when you get this close, like when you get within spitting distance, like Don James is saying, I'm not just reading that because he's saying I'm right. But next time Cisneros could win, because you get that close within the margins. I mean, a recount, a little bit more get out the vote, a couple more doors knocked, like a couple more tweets, like that could make all the difference, honestly. So I think I'll end
real close, like Beto in the Senate, real close. If we remember.
Okay.
Oh, I remember that election was hard.
probably had like,
I'm not over it.
Probably had a quarter of Ted Cruz money.
Bad
yeah,
lefties.
I mean that is a real problem here, especially. Yeah, and I think I just did a piece about this for the breakdown. Like the billionaire and top 1% spending on this election is way more than it was even last year, and that was record setting, and it's becoming a problem. I mean, it already has been a problem, but it's like something's got to give. eventually. I don't know what. I don't. They're never gonna like get rid of Citizens United. Why would they? You know. So I don't know. I'm just being sick now.
There's one other person. Someone said, shout out. Yeah, it was Bad Lefty who said, shout out to Jonathan Larson, who did good work on Mayo P's anti-black issues. I'm not going to take any credit at all for what Jonathan Larson did, but that was the time where TYT Investigates was, you know, almost a thing. And Cenk was like, okay, what do we really want to focus on? What do we really want to get on? And I just mentioned the warpath that I was on about Mayor Pete. And I just mentioned how I was working at TYT at the time, and you also just mentioned how Jonathan Larson was focusing on that. So I'm not saying that I had any influence on what Larson was assigned to do at the time. I'm just saying that I did. But no, he did great coverage there, actually being on the ground, because that's shit that I literally could not do. I'm not a journalist, so definitely he did great work and continues to do great work.